Minecraft just announced this new nautilus mob, and what's really important about this guy is that he's the first mob we have with an open mouth. So in my previous mods, you had to open a horse to store stuff in it, but with the nautilus, you can just right click it with an item to store it in his mouth. You can only put 2 or 3 items in there before he's stuffed, but that's still going to be important because chests don't work underwater anymore. Since if you think about it, once you open it, all the water will flow in and all the items inside will get wet. And a wet block is going to get everything else wet, and a wet sword is going to be floppy, which is nothing to be ashamed of. Anyways, instead of chests, you can just collect a bunch of nautiluses and line them up in your storage room like this. And if you need items underwater, you can just collect them from the nautilus mouth. I even added copper golem nautiluses to sort the items for you, but we'll get back to that later. With this system, you'd still need 22 nautiluses to store a stack of cobblestone, so storing a double chest of items would look like this. And you might be thinking, oh, I can just use a shulker box. And while you can put the shulker box in a nautilus's mouth, if you try opening it, the expanding animation will blow the nautilus's head smooth off, and then all your items will get wet anyways. So since having 100,000 nautiluses is actually pretty laggy, I added the big nautilus to Minecraft. This guy's mouth is so big that you can actually swim in there and place blocks on the inside of his body to store them. You can even place down chests and beds and paintings to make it feel like a home. But be careful not to use a furnace, or else the heat will hurt the big nautilus and break everything you place. You actually have to be careful in general not to let the nautilus die while you're in it, because its mouth will close up and you'll have no way of getting out. You might be wondering, most mobs turn red and disappear after they die, so how come the big nautilus just looks like this? And it's actually because Minecraft also added the zombie nautilus, and zombies in Minecraft are pretty interesting because villagers and horses and pigmen can turn into zombies, but other mobs can't, which implies some sort of fundamental genealogical difference between Minecraft mobs, which then implies evolution or an actual god in the Minecraft universe, but that can be for a later video. Anyways, I thought if Minecraft was going to add a zombie nautilus, they should also add every other kind of nautilus. So we have squid nautiluses, which could easily be confused for a regular nautilus, villager nautiluses, which live in underwater villages, iron golem nautiluses, which protect the villager nautiluses, but they get rusty in a couple of minutes and then die. And fish nautiluses, which are just fish in a shell. On land, we have pig nautiluses, which are pigs in a shell, cow nautiluses, which are cows in a shell, but you can actually mine the shell to get all the milk the cow was keeping from you, and nautilus zombies, which are the opposite of a zombie nautilus. I did also add nautilus endermen, but their shell will just fall off when they teleport, unless they're actively holding onto it. And you might be thinking, oh, ever since he hit 1 million subscribers, Fingies has been so lazy. He's just adding a shell to these vanilla mobs and calling it a day. But actually, if you use a mace to break a nautilus shell, you'll see that these mobs are actually completely different from the regular version. And the giant lump of flesh on them means that they drop extra meat. But you can also bring them to this new fish market structure in villages, where you can buy and sell every kind of nautilus meat. The normal way to get a lot of emeralds is to build a sugarcane farm and trade a bunch of paper, but I've made it so that the new best way is to breed a bunch of nautiluses with nautilus shells, and then use some pistons to separate each nautilus from its shell, and then break and sell these nautilus bodies at the fish market. It's understandable why something like cow or steak nautilus would be desirable, since it's like surf and turf, but I don't quite understand why the most desirable food at the villager fish market is villager nautilus meat. Anyways, you might be wondering if this piston ripping a nautilus body from its shell thing works on big nautiluses, and if you set up a lot of pistons, the answer is it does. If you lug the big nautilus body all the way over to the fish market, they'll give you a bunch of emeralds for it, but what's cooler about this is that you can live in the nautilus shell, so you won't have to waste dozens of seconds building an underwater base. The last feature of the nautilus is that it's rideable, although I don't know why you'd want to ride it when you can use it to hold your items, especially when Minecraft already has boats, dolphins, and conduits. I think we also have too many rideable mobs and it gets kind of confusing, especially because you have tridents and elytras as well. So I wanted to give you a reason to want to ride the nautilus. The first thing I tried was to make it useful, like a car. So I let you craft 4 wheels like this, slap them on, and then stuff a furnace into its mouth as the engine. This will make the Nautilus really fun and fast to ride on land, but just like a real car, it does not do that well underwater. The next thing I tried was to drop the Nautilus onto an end rod so that the end rod would go straight into its mouth, and then hook it up to like a merry-go-round structure, so even if it's not useful, you could at least have fun riding it. But this is only fun for a couple of minutes, and all the baby villagers I tried to bring into my carnival drowned before they could make it to the merry-go-round. As we established earlier, the Nautilus is also not as useful as a horse, because you can store like 10 stacks of stuff on a horse, but you can only store 2 or 3 items in a Nautilus. And if you think about it, it would have made way more sense for Minecraft to add a rideable seahorse to complement the regular land horse. Although this seahorse is drowning because it's just a regular horse that I painted blue earlier. Anyways, I decided I'd make the Nautilus the most useful mob to ride so you don't have to find all the other mobs. And it's already the best and only rideable mob underwater, but right now he can't breathe on land. So what you want to do is build a little bubble of air around him like this, and every time he's about to suffocate, you break the glass and let him breathe some water. If you repeat this again and again, over time, the Nautilus will learn to better hold its breath, and after 24 hours of in-game time, it'll have fully learned to breathe both air and water. Now we can ride him through the air like this, which is really good for building, but our Nautilus will still die to lava. The solution to this is obviously to do the same air bubble trick, but instead you place lava down, and when he's about to burn to death, you place down a bucket of water. And eventually we'll have this super strong, totally not traumatized Nautilus that can go anywhere. If you separate this guy from his shell, the fish market villagers actually won't want his meat because it's literally tougher, but he's so strong that he's actually going to find you and beat you up for what you put him through. Last but not least, Minecraft also gave the Nautilus this dash ability, but I don't understand how a Nautilus would dash forward if it doesn't have legs. So to make this more realistic, when your Nautilus dashes forward, it'll turn into Dash from The Incredibles. And this also makes your Nautilus way faster. I just released this cosmetic mod that lets you turn yourself into a big Nautilus, or yourself as a Nautilus, or a Nautilus but your shell was removed so you just have a giant lump on your head. And it works on multiplayer, so if you and your friends all download it, you can be anything from my videos. You can get everything from this video for free, but there's also a couple cosmetics that you can pay real money for if you want. And it really helps me out, especially because I don't want to make you guys watch sponsorships. So check it out at thingies.com. I'm adding the potty list, which is like a skibbity naughty list next time, so like and subscribe.